Hey everybody, and welcome back to Redacted. Today we have a couple of posts from r/MaliciousCompliance, so let's get into it. In our first post we have a grocer who gives away free products due to a bizarre loophole. Context. I work at a local supermarket as a low-wage cashier, and this happened earlier this year. Our supermarket chain decided that in 2020 there should be less people at the work floor because they want to reduce wage costs. Now that wouldn't be such a bad idea if they didn't apply it to the busy days, and I work on the busy days. You should also know that at my supermarket, we have a rule that says that the fourth person waiting in line gets all of the stuff in their basket completely for free unless the regular checkouts are occupied. In our supermarket, there are 3 regular checkouts, but usually they're not all occupied. It was a busy Saturday and I was the only one behind a checkout. My boss and a fellow coworker are working with me. It's around 10 a.m. and usually it gets pretty busy between the hours of 10 a.m. and noon. There are 3 customers at my checkout and I start to get a bit nervous, so I ask if somebody can open up another checkout. My boss, who's a nice boss by the way, I don't have any grudges against her, tells me that everything's fine. Alright then, everything's fine. It gets even busier though, and now there's 5 or 6 people at my checkout. My boss is dealing with the self-checkout customers, and my other coworker is covering the alcohol checkout. In my store we have a separate checkout for alcohol. I tell my boss that someone really needs to open up a new checkout or I'm going to have to start handing out free goods to everyone due to the fourth person in line rule. She tells me not to and to just send people to an empty checkout. This usually works out because most people in my city aren't even aware of the fourth in line rule, so it's a good way to prevent giving away free products. Okay, so I send customers 4 through 7 to an empty checkout. But then new customers just take the place of the people that I just sent away, and everyone starts looking mad at me, which is understandable. After a couple of minutes, there's still nobody operating the other checkout because my boss and my coworker are still busy with other customers. So I just decide to follow the policy and give everyone what they're entitled to. Sir, did you know you were fourth in line? Fourth in line gets everything for free, so here you go. I scan the next person's products. Miss, everything here is free. Have a wonderful day. Next person comes, I scan their products. Everything's free. Have a nice day. I still had to scan the products, but I was getting rid of the queue pretty fast because I'm actually quite good at scanning everything fast. But we do have a lot of elderly people who are pretty slow at paying and packing up. Either they can't see the numbers well, or they don't remember the PIN number for their card. I also gave everything free to the people I had sent away previously after they came back. After the whole thing, my boss asked me why I was giving everything away for free, and I told her that I was simply following the rules. She said, "But I told you to send them to an empty checkout." Yeah, and then they came back to me because nobody was opening a checkout. She walked away pretty mad because they probably just lost a bunch of money. But now they've decided that more people should be working on busy days, and I'm glad. I hope those customers enjoyed their free products. In our next post we have a teenager who gets revenge on his jerk of a neighbor for breaking his skateboard. During the summer of 2007, my friends and I were hardcore into skating. I was around 13 years old at the time. My friends and I had just started getting pretty good, which is what you'd expect considering we skated 24/7. I grew up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs to make ends meet, so I didn't really have much growing up besides my friends and a skateboard. My birthday was early that summer, and one of my friend's parents, who essentially raised me, bought me a new skateboard which meant a lot to me, considering that's all I got that year. In my neighborhood there was this curb which came in from a street and wrapped around a tree and dumped back into the road. Once we figured out we can grind right around this, that's all we did if we weren't at a skate park or doing God knows what else. Well, the problem with this curb is that it was in front of the neighbor's house, who was known across the neighborhood of being the typical annoying, nosy, complaining sack of potatoes. Anyway, one day my friends and I are skating the curb like we did nearly every day that summer, but this time he came out and confronted my friends. Unfortunately for me, I didn't see him, and I came flying in to hit the curb, see him at the last second, and bail from the curb so my board landed right in front of him. With one fell swoop, he planted his foot directly through my board, and just like that, my birthday gift is broken. Fast forward to 3 years later, and I have a new stepdad who made life a lot better. I actually started to have a relationship with my mom and him. During that summer, I was helping my stepdad in his car garage, helping fix and service cars and a bunch of stuff. Then one day, the man who broke my board came in and needed help with his car. As soon as he saw me, he reminded me about what he did to my board, in a joking-like fashion, like what he did was funny. My neighbor said that his brakes kept making a squeaking noise and demanded, pretty rudely if I'm honest, that we fix it instantly, saying, "I want my car to be in tip-top shape, whatever you have to do," and then smirked at me and said, "I can afford it." My stepdad said that we were swamped and that he'll call him when it's ready. He eventually sighed and said some crude remark as he stormed out, leaving his car. I told my dad that I'll look at the car. Turns out all he needed was a simple oil change. Here's where the malicious compliance kicks in. It did occur to me that he said he wanted his car in tip-top shape, and that he could afford it. Suddenly I noticed that he's going to want some brand new filters, and while we're at it we better replace the battery, and maybe the whole brake system as well. It's important to note that even though we didn't live in a rich area, this guy had quite a bravado about him and would constantly flex his seemingly minimal wealth upon everyone he could. I ended up racking up closer to $2,000 worth of parts and was pretty pleased with myself. Fast forward to the end of the day, my father had left and I was going to lock up the shop when my neighbor came to collect. I gave him the bill and he looked in anger and disbelief, saying, "Why did you replace the battery and brakes and whatnot?" I replied simply with, "You said tip-top shape. Thought you could afford it." Then he begrudgingly agreed to pay the bill. Did he break a maybe $50 skateboard? Yes. Did I rack up pointless replacements on perfectly fine parts that we later reused? Also yes.